When life feels heavy, when things don't go the way you hoped, when you find yourself quietly asking, "Why is this so hard?" There is a simple phrase that has comforted millions across generations. Let it be. These words are not an escape from reality. They are an invitation to meet reality differently. In moments of loss, uncertainty, or resistance, they remind us that peace does not come from forcing life to change, but from learning how to stop fighting what already is. Buddhist wisdom has carried this message for centuries. It teaches that much of our suffering does not come from pain itself, but from our refusal to accept change, impermanence, and uncertainty. In this reflection, we will explore how the art of letting go can soften the heart, calm the mind, and gently return us to peace. If you feel drawn to this message, stay with me. And if something here resonates, you're welcome to share a thought in the comments or simply listen quietly. Sometimes that is enough. 1. Understanding suffering and its causes. Life has a way of becoming difficult without warning. One moment things feel stable, and the next, something shifts. A relationship changes, a plan falls apart, a loss arrives that you never felt ready for. No matter who we are, there are moments when life feels heavier than we expected. Pain, disappointment, and confusion are not rare experiences reserved for a few. They touch everyone, quietly and indiscriminately. Suffering does not ask who you are, how strong you are, or how much you believe you should be able to handle. Buddhism begins with a simple but deeply human acknowledgement. Suffering is part of life. This is not said to discourage us, but to comfort us. It means that when you struggle, something has not gone wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not failing at life. You are simply encountering a universal condition that all human beings share. From physical pain to emotional loss, from uncertainty to regret, suffering arises naturally as part of being alive. Importantly, Buddhist wisdom does not treat suffering as a punishment or a moral failure. It is not something you deserve, nor is it proof that you are weak. Instead, it is seen as a signal, an invitation to look more closely at how we relate to our experiences. The Buddha taught that while pain may be unavoidable, much of our suffering comes from something deeper than the events themselves. Often, what hurts us most is not what happened, but our resistance to it. We replay the moment in our minds, wishing it had gone differently. We cling to what was, or struggle against what is. We demand that reality match our expectations, and when it doesn't, tension builds within us. This inner struggle, the constant pulling away from the present moment, is what turns pain into prolonged suffering. Attachment and resistance work together in subtle ways. We become attached to outcomes, identities, relationships, and ideas of how life should unfold. When life moves in another direction, we resist, and that resistance tightens the knot of suffering. Buddhism teaches that the root of much of our distress lies here, not in the world itself, but in how tightly we hold on. This understanding is not meant to blame us. It is meant to free us. Because if suffering is created and sustained through attachment, then it can also soften when attachment loosens. And this leads to a gentle but powerful question that guides the path forward. If suffering grows through holding on, what becomes possible when we begin to let go? 2. The nature of impermanence. One of the clearest truths of life is that nothing stays the same. Our moods shift from one moment to the next. People grow, change, arrive, and leave. Circumstances that once felt permanent quietly transform. Even our own bodies are changing with every breath we take. Whether we notice it or not, life is always in motion. There is no point where everything stands still and remains fixed. Yet knowing this truth does not mean we are comfortable with it. Most of us resist change, even when we understand it intellectually. We cling to what feels familiar because it gives us a sense of safety. We want relationships to remain the way they once were. We want good moments to last longer. We want painful moments to end immediately. When reality moves in a different direction, discomfort arises. This resistance to change is a major source of our suffering. Buddhism calls this truth impermanence. It is not meant to be a dark or pessimistic idea. It is simply an honest description of how life works. Everything that appears will eventually change or pass away. The problem is not impermanence itself, but our refusal to accept it. When we try to hold on to what is constantly shifting, tension builds, much like trying to freeze a moving stream with our hands. A helpful image is that of a river. Water flows endlessly, never repeating the same shape twice. When we try to grasp the water, it slips through our fingers. The harder we try to hold it, the faster it escapes. Life works in the same way. Moments pass like seasons, blooming and fading in their own time. A flower is beautiful because it will not last forever. A sunset touches us precisely because it disappears. Seen in this light, impermanence is not an enemy. It is what gives life depth and meaning. If everything were permanent, nothing would feel precious. Joy would lose its sweetness, and growth would come to a halt. Change allows healing, learning, and renewal to happen. It creates space for new experiences to emerge. When we begin to truly understand impermanence, something softens inside us. We stop demanding that life remain unchanged. We learn to appreciate moments while they are here, without clinging or fear. By accepting that all things rise and fall, we move from suffering toward wisdom. Instead of fighting the flow of life, we begin to move with it, discovering that meaning is found not in holding on, but in fully experiencing each passing moment. 3. Practicing non-attachment. One of the most common misunderstandings about Buddhism is the idea of non-attachment. Many people hear the word and immediately think it means becoming distant, emotionally closed, or detached from life itself. This misunderstanding often creates resistance. We worry that if we practice non-attachment, we will stop loving, stop caring, or lose what makes life meaningful. Buddhism gently clears this confusion. Non-attachment does not mean the absence of love. It means the absence of clinging. To be non-attached is not to push life away, but to hold it differently. It is the difference between an open hand and a clenched fist. When the hand is open, it can receive, support, and release naturally. When it is clenched, tension builds and pain follows. Non-attachment teaches us to love without trying to possess, to care without trying to control, and to live without making our peace dependent on specific outcomes. A simple image helps clarify this. Imagine a bird resting on your palm. If you try to close your hand around it, the bird panics and flies away. But if you allow it to rest freely, it may stay for a while. Love works the same way. The tighter we grip, the more fear and suffering we create. The more we allow space, the more genuine connection becomes possible. This practice applies to every area of life. In relationships, non-attachment allows us to love others as they are, not as we want them to be. We stop demanding that they meet all our expectations or remain unchanged. With success and failure, non-attachment helps us give our best effort without tying our self-worth to the result. We work, grow, and try, but we do not collapse when things don't go as planned. With ourselves, non-attachment means letting go of rigid identities and harsh self-judgments. We allow ourselves to change, to learn, and to be imperfect without constant self-criticism. When understood this way, non-attachment feels lighter, not colder. It creates freedom instead of distance. You are still allowed to care deeply, to dream, and to love fully. The difference is that you are no longer imprisoning yourself with fear of loss or failure. You begin to experience life more openly, moment by moment. As you reflect on this, you might ask yourself a simple question. Where in your life are you holding on too tightly? If you feel comfortable, share one thought or insight in the comments. Sometimes naming it is the first step toward letting go. 4. Cultivating patience and acceptance. We live in a world that moves quickly. Answers are expected instantly. Messages are replied to within minutes. Progress is measured by speed. Without realizing it, this pace shapes our inner life. We begin to believe that everything should happen faster, smoother, and exactly according to plan. When it doesn't, frustration arises. The mind tightens, the body tenses, and impatience quietly takes over. At its core, impatience comes from expectation. We carry an image of how things should be, how quickly we should succeed, how soon someone should respond, how fast we should heal or change. When reality moves at a different rhythm, resistance appears. We are not upset by the situation itself, but by the gap between what is happening and what we think should be happening. Buddhism gently points to this resistance as a source of unnecessary suffering. These patterns show up in very ordinary moments. You are stuck in traffic, and irritation builds even though the delay changes nothing. You are waiting for a message, and each passing minute feels heavier than the last. You are working on yourself, trying to grow or heal, and become discouraged because the change feels slow. In each case, the discomfort does not come from the situation alone, but from the demand that it be different right now. Buddhist wisdom offers patience and acceptance as an antidote. Acceptance does not mean giving up or becoming passive. It means acknowledging reality as it is in this moment, without fighting it. When you stop arguing with what is happening, energy that was spent on resistance becomes available for clarity and wise action. You may still work to improve things, but you do so without inner conflict. Think of acceptance as learning to move with the current instead of against it. When you resist the flow, you exhaust yourself. When you align with it, movement becomes easier. Life unfolds at its own pace, and forcing it rarely brings peace. By practicing patience, you allow things to develop naturally, in their own time. This shift is especially important when it comes to yourself. Growth, healing, and understanding cannot be rushed. Just as a seed does not become a tree overnight, inner change unfolds gradually. When you stop demanding instant results, you create space for real transformation. Patience builds trust, not just in life, but in yourself. As the mind slows and resistance softens, the nervous system begins to settle. You feel less pressured, less pushed. In that calm space, acceptance becomes a form of strength. You learn to meet life as it is, confident that you can respond wisely, without forcing the moment to become something it is not. 5. The power of mindfulness. If patience and acceptance help us stop fighting life, mindfulness is what allows us to fully experience it. Much of our suffering continues not because of what is happening, but because we are rarely present for it. The mind constantly drifts into the past, replaying what went wrong, or into the future, worrying about what might happen next. Even when life is relatively calm, the mind keeps searching for problems to solve. Buddhism teaches that mindfulness is the way out of this restless cycle. Mindfulness does not mean escaping reality or trying to empty the mind. It means paying attention to what is happening right now, without judgment or resistance. When you are mindful, you are no longer lost in thought. You are here. You notice your breath, the sensations in your body, the sounds around you, and the simple fact of being alive in this moment. This presence alone has a calming effect, because the mind is no longer pulling itself in every direction. Most of the time, we live on autopilot. We eat without tasting, listen without hearing, and move through our days while our thoughts are somewhere else. This constant distraction creates disconnection, not only from life, but from ourselves. Mindfulness gently restores that connection. It brings us back to the present, where clarity and peace naturally arise. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is that it breaks the habit of automatic reaction. When something unpleasant happens, the usual response is to resist, judge, or mentally argue with it. Mindfulness creates a pause. In that pause, we see what is happening without immediately being controlled by it. Emotions still arise, but they no longer overwhelm us in the same way. We observe them, and in observing them, their intensity softens. Mindfulness can be practiced anywhere. While eating, you can notice the taste and texture of your food. While walking, you can feel your feet touching the ground. While breathing, you can simply follow the rhythm of each inhale and exhale. These small moments of awareness slowly retrain the mind to stay present. Over time, the constant mental noise begins to quiet. When mindfulness becomes part of daily life, letting go happens naturally. You stop clinging to thoughts, emotions, and situations because you are no longer lost inside them. You see them clearly, and what is seen clearly no longer needs to be controlled. In this way, mindfulness becomes a foundation for peace, not by changing life, but by changing how you meet it, one moment at a time. 6. The Path of Renunciation. When many people hear the word renunciation, fear immediately arises. It sounds extreme, as if it means giving everything up, walking away from life, or denying what brings joy. Buddhism offers a much gentler and more practical understanding. Renunciation is not about rejecting the world. It is about choosing to release what no longer nourishes you. It is the wisdom to recognize what adds unnecessary weight and the courage to put it down. In everyday life, we carry far more than we realize. We hold on to resentment long after a moment has passed. We stay connected to relationships that drain our energy or keep us stuck in old patterns. We cling to identities we once needed but have since outgrown. These hidden burdens quietly shape our thoughts and emotions, often becoming the source of ongoing tension. Renunciation begins when we see these burdens clearly and ask an honest question: is this still serving me? Buddhism uses powerful images to describe this process. Holding on to anger is compared to carrying a burning coal in your hand, hoping someone else will feel the pain. In reality, you are the one being burned. The coal can only be released by opening your hand. Another image is that of traveling with luggage that is far too heavy. Each unnecessary item slows you down, making the journey harder than it needs to be. Renunciation is the act of unpacking, keeping what is essential, and letting the rest go. This path does not require force. It unfolds through awareness and compassion. When you see that a habit, belief, or attachment is causing suffering, letting go becomes a natural response. You are not losing something valuable. You are gaining space. Space to breathe, to move freely, and to respond to life with clarity instead of exhaustion. As renunciation deepens, life becomes simpler. Not empty, but lighter. You stop carrying what belongs to the past. You stop defining yourself by roles or stories that no longer reflect who you are. What remains is a sense of ease, a quiet confidence that you do not need to hold on so tightly in order to be safe. True freedom is not found in having more, but in needing less. Renunciation opens the door to this freedom, not by taking life away, but by returning you to what truly matters. In releasing what weighs you down, you discover a natural simplicity where peace can finally settle and stay. 7. Integrating, letting go into daily life. Letting go is not a single decision made once and for all. It is a practice that unfolds in small, ordinary moments. Each day offers countless opportunities to loosen our grip, often in ways so subtle we barely notice them. We practice letting go when we release an expectation, when we allow an emotion to pass without clinging to it, or when we accept an outcome that did not match our plans. These moments may seem insignificant, but together they shape a lighter way of living. In daily life, letting go begins with expectations. We notice how often we demand that people, situations, or even ourselves behave in a certain way. When reality does not meet those expectations, tension arises. By gently releasing the need for things to be different, we create space for acceptance. The same applies to emotions. Joy, sadness, frustration, and fear all move through us. Letting go does not mean suppressing these feelings. It means allowing them to exist without becoming trapped inside them. Outcomes are another place where attachment often hides. We work hard, make plans, and set goals, yet life does not always unfold as expected. When we let go of the need to control results, effort becomes lighter and more sincere. We do what we can, and then we allow life to respond in its own way. In relationships, letting go shows up as trust. We love, we care, and we show up fully, but we stop trying to manage other people's choices or emotions. Connection becomes more honest when it is no longer driven by fear. At the heart of this practice is a simple truth. Peace does not come from controlling life. It comes from trusting it. Trusting that change is natural. Trusting that uncertainty does not mean danger. Trusting that you can meet whatever arises with awareness and compassion. When this trust grows, the need to cling slowly fades, and a quiet sense of ease takes its place. As we come to the end of this reflection, take a moment to notice how you feel. There is nothing you need to fix or achieve right now. If something in this message resonated with you, you are warmly invited to share a word or short thought in the comments. Perhaps something that reminds you to let go and return to the present. If you found value here, feel free to stay with this channel for more reflections on mindfulness and inner peace. And if you know someone who might benefit from this message, you are welcome to share it with them. Thank you for spending this time here, and may your days continue to unfold with greater ease, clarity, and trust.